What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with a Destiny 2 Season of the Wish Dawning 2023 video. And yes, that was a mouthful, but in this one we're going to focus on the Dawning weapons for 2023. As alongside the other elements of the Dawning event, all of the weapons appear to have been updated, and for this event we actually get access to 6 different weapons, so there are, I suppose, quite a few gameplay rewards for this year's event. And so on top of the armor, the cosmetics, the modes and things like that, there'll certainly be a few weapons to chase, and so I figured in this video we'd break down all of the weapons, all of the updated perks, of course the new Dawning weapons, but also some additional cosmetic elements for weapons this year. And so for any of you guys who want to chase down the weapons, hopefully this video will be helpful. If it is, a rating below really does help us out on the channel. Also be sure to get subscribed and I'll keep you posted on season and Dawning content. But otherwise, without further delay, let's jump into it. And so firstly, the Dawning will begin on the 12th of December, and I believe the event runs for 3 weeks, so it'll take us up to the first week in January. And as we mentioned, there are quite a few rewards to chase down, including 6 of the Dawning weapons. Firstly though, quick mention, if you do want to check out the cosmetic items for the event and the Eververse rotation, including items that'll be sold for silver and bright dust, then I'll link a video down below with the full Eververse schedule for this year's event. Otherwise though, let's talk about weapons, and firstly, we do get the new Dawning glaive, which is called the Albedo Wing. And this is an arc aggressive glaive, so it'll be an interesting one to pick up. Of course, we'll get chances to drop it inside of Dawning engrams, and the event weapons tend to drop pretty plentifully between sort of random drops and triumphs and things like that. But for the main traits on the Albedo Wing, initially in the first trait slot, it can roll Grave Robber, Beacon Rounds, where final blows with the weapon grant projectiles tracking, and dealing further damage extends the duration. That's one of the sort of unique elements for this glaive, as it's the only other weapon outside of sidearms that can get the Beacon's Round bonus. But on top of that, in the first slot, it can also get Replenishing Ages, Immovable Object, Keep Away, Clown Cartridge, and Field Prep. Then in the second trait slot, it can get Golden Tricorn, as well as Demolitionist, Lead from Gold, and Deconstruct, which is another new perk this season, where dealing sustained damage grants bonus damage against vehicles and constructs, and partially refills the magazine from reserves. And then damage with primary ammo or against constructs provides additional progress, and constructs include barricades, turrets, stasis crystals, and other objects created in the field. So it's an interesting bonus, but additionally, there is Attrition Orbs, where dealing sustained damage creates an orb of power, and then the weapon can also get high impact reserves and close to melee. In addition to those, there is the basic origin trait for the Dawning, where rapidly defeating targets awards a Dawning gift, and defeated powerful targets count as more than one. Plus the glaive gets Hake Breach armaments, being a Hake weapon. So there are quite a few interesting potential roles there. Obviously, Beacon Rounds is going to be pretty popular as it's one of the unique elements for the weapon, but also, depending on preference, Grave Robber, as well as Clown Cartridge, could be pretty popular bonuses. And some players may want to pair those things up with things like Deconstruct or even Attrition Orbs, which could be an interesting one on a glaive. But Beacon Rounds could also pair interestingly with things like Close to Melee, so certainly a few options there, and let us know any perk rolls that you'll be chasing down on this glaive. Next up though, we have the Cold Front SMG, which is returning from previous years, and this is a kinetic aggressive frame SMG. It also features the Dawning and Hake Breach armaments origin traits. Then in the first trait slot, it can roll Perpetual Motion, Unrelenting, Subsistence, Stats for All, as well as Tap the Trigger, Enlightened Action, and Rewind Rounds, with the second trait slot able to get Rampage, One for All, Frenzy, Rangefinder, and then Cascade Point, Attrition Orbs, or Deconstruct. And so in the first trait slot, Tap the Trigger and Perpetual Motion could be interesting for PvP roles. And then of course there is Subsistence and Rewind Rounds, which could be decent, all paired up with bonuses like Rampage or Frenzy for damage. Of course Rangefinder is there if you want it. And Cascade Point could be interesting on aggressive SMG as well. So once again, give us any thoughts you have on that particular weapon. But that takes us to the Glacioclasm, and this is a Void high impact frame fusion rifle. On top of the Dawning origin trait, it also gets Omolon Fluid Dynamics. Then in the first trait slot, there is Slide Shot, Subsistence, Repulsor Brace, Under Pressure, Killing Wind, Heating Up, and Overflow, with the second trait slot able to get Reservoir Burst, Golden Tricorn, High Impact Reserves, Eye of the Storm, and then Fragile Focus, Controlled Burst, or Successful Warm-Up. So a few interesting roles here. Obviously, Subsistence, Repulsor Brace, and Overflow in the first trait slot could be decent. Reservoir Burst is still a really good fusion rifle bonus as well in the second slot, as well as Controlled Burst for damage, or even things like Successful Warm-Up, so let us know any roles you're looking out for on the Glacioclasm. But we also get the Avalanche Machine Gun, and this is a Solar Adaptive Frame Machine Gun, where in the first trait slot, we can roll Autoloading Holster, Subsistence, Dynamic Sway Reduction, and then Surplus, Stats for All, Rewind Rounds, and Under Over, and those can be paired up with Adrenaline Junkie, Incandescent, Vorpal Weapon, and then you've got Cascade Point, Target Lock, or One for All. And depending on preference, there are a few good roles to go after here. Autoloading Holster, Subsistence, and even Rewind Rounds are decent. Incandescent speaks for itself, good for ag control, but there's also Vorpal Weapon if you're looking for more damage. And Cascade Point could be interesting, as well as Target Lock. But keep in mind, this weapon will also get the Soros Synergy Origin trait, where reloading grants the weapon bonus handling and reduces incoming flinch for a short time. So give us your thoughts on the machine gun, but then we have the Stay Frosty, which is a stasis lightweight frame pulse rifle. This also gets Amalon Fluid Dynamics and the Origin traits, and for the first trait slot it can roll Encore, Tunnel Vision, Moving Target, Killing Wind, and then Offhand Strike, Enlightened Action, or Heating Up. With the second trade slot able to get Desperado, as well as Headstone, Kill Clip, Headseeker, Under Over, Attrition Orbs, and Collective Action. And so in the first trade slot, depending on what you want to do, Encore, as well as Moving Target, even Killing Wind, paired up with things like Desperado, is going to be pretty solid, but there's Headstone, Kill Clip, and Headseeker, with those last two being pretty good damage bonuses, especially for PvP, so actually a bunch of interesting rolls right there on this Stay Frosty. But that finally takes us to the Zephyr, which is a stasis adaptive frame sword. And in the first trade slot, this can get Unrelenting, as well as Relentless Strikes, Duelist's Trance, Wellspring, Tireless Blade, Turnabout, and Adaptive Munitions. And those are able to pair up in the second slot with Vorpal Weapon, Surrounded, Whirling Blade, Chain Reaction, Cold Steel, Attrition Orbs, and Collective Action. And so Tireless Blade and Relentless Strikes will pair up pretty nicely with either Surrounded, Chain Reaction, and Cold Steel, which is a bit of an underrated bonus. But of course you could play around with Attrition Orbs for various builds, and there are some other interesting options there as well, so let us know if you fancy going after a Zephyr sword, or any of the other weapons that you think stand out for this year's Dawning event. Certainly a few interesting things there, but on top of that, in relation to weapons, I suppose it is worth a mention, there will be a new Memento. Of course, these can be applied to crafted weapons, so if you want to pick up the Dawning Memento for the year, it adds this Frosty weapon skin, and Bungie say we can get it by completing the Winter Night quest that Eva Levante has. And following that, additional mementos can be acquired by opening a gift in return, as long as the initial memento has been unlocked during the quest, so another little extra to go after right there. And otherwise for cosmetics, linking to weapons specifically, we will see the return of the Infinite Gift ornament for the Vex Mythoclast, as well as the Merrymaker ornament for Monte Carlo, and the Cheer Spreader ornament for the Risk Runner, all of which will be available in the Eververse store throughout the course of the event. And on top of having silver costs, they will also be sold for Bright Dust, and they'll cost 1250 Bright Dust, so we'll probably see one of them featured on each of the Dawning weeks. And there we go, that's all of the stuff associated with weapons for this year's Dawning event, guys. So, as always, I hope the video has been useful, and if it has, a rating below very much helps us out on the channel. Also, be sure to get subscribed so I can keep you posted with more Destiny content. And once again, let us know any items that you're looking out for with the Dawning or the season launch in the comments section. But otherwise, as always, I appreciate you tuning in, and whatever you get up to, I hope you guys have an awesome day.